I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, January the 12th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Pay for what you need, not for what you don't. Keep your cash and get the same results you expect from a telithromycin injection. Effective treatment with no BS. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri, kind of getting back to normal there after last Monday. They had a kind of a weather market and receipts were extremely curbed, but getting kind of back on the main line now. They're going to start at 6 o'clock here Monday morning, expecting 8,500 head. It'd be hard to tell what the market is. They only had a couple of thousand last week, would be like most sales having none. But just getting back up on the main line and marketing quite a few cattle. Coming up on January the 30th, Joplin's going to be having a special cow and bull sale, so be thinking about that. If you got some that you'd like to market, if you're looking to buy some about that time, it'd be a good place to do it. A week for the ages. I think we'll probably remember this week for a long, long time, and we've had several record breakers here, but this one just set everything on its ear. Every record high was broken, and that was from local, regional, national, on all classes of stocker and feeder cattle and finished fed cattle. I don't see that very often, and we hit some really kind of trademark spots there. Fat cattle sold over $2 a pound. We're going to have a weighted average well over $2, so blew the last record all to pieces there. Even sold cattle for $2 a pound in the Southern Plains, so that's easily a big record there. We sold cattle just unbelievably well all over the country. From one place to the other. I tell you what, my phone was blowing up all week, and everybody thought they had the highest cattle. And of course, it's getting hard to tell. They're selling so well everywhere. But man, I was getting all kinds of calls and texts and emails and snaps and this and that and the other thing, showing me different cattle that had sold all over. It's funny. I've been here at DVAuction for a little over 10 years, but been doing this feeder flash here for about 10 years. And when I first started doing that, it was strange to see somebody sitting on social media talking about what the markets are doing and what cattle prices are. Now everybody's doing it, but you can see it just about everywhere, especially if you're like me and you have a lot of people within the industry on your social book there. But I was out of the country there most of last week, attending the Ontario Cattle Feeders Association conference there in London, Ontario, which is about halfway in between Toronto, Canada and Detroit, Michigan. But at Ontario Cattle Feeders, that's a big organization there, and pretty much ran by Jim Clark, and he does a great job. He took good care of me while I was there. But met so many good people there. I gave them my presentation on the importance of price discovery, price transparency, and competition in the fed cattle market, and they were all about it. I guarantee I was a lot more popular at the Ontario Cattle Feeders conference as I will be at NCBA here in a few weeks down in San Antonio, but those guys up in Ontario have already seen it. In Ontario, they have one big packer, so you pretty much take what they give you. You don't throw a fit. Out west, they've got two, so they've already given it all up, and they would love to have the negotiated competition that we could have in this country. The thing of it is, when you get to the point where they're at, where you just have one or two packers, they don't want to give you the formula premiums anymore because they don't have to. You might want to keep that in mind, you guys that think these AMAs are the greatest thing in the world, because once they get it whittled down where there's no competition at all, then they don't have to do that anymore. the guys told me they just waited till late in the week whenever they got a call from them telling them what they were going to get. And I guess they just kind of grit their teeth and hold still when they do it. But, you know, there are a few feeders, like my friend Dave Gardner, that is sending his cattle back into the United States and over to Pennsylvania, and they are getting some premiums over there and selling them on a grid there, and they're getting paid for their better cattle. And despite all the freight and all the expenses of putting them through, they're better off doing that than just selling them to the one packer there. But they're just craving any kind of competition over there. They're not in the process of giving it up. It's been taken away from them, so their perspective is different, and I think that's great. But I got to go on a tour there, feedlot tour, and go around and see how they do it. Of course, they feed them all under roof there, and got to see my buddy Dave Gardner there and go to his farm, and we had a good time visiting and looked all how he does things. And man, look at this nice barn that he's got, and they keep it nice and clean and everything, and got to look in there and talking to him, and he had a whole feeding barn full of those Virginia piss cutters. And man, he feeds them right there, and those cattle are high in quality, about as high in quality as I've seen since I was in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, looking at those hard-fed cattle that they have there. But we had a good time. We had a big banquet there. I've never been fed like they feed you at a banquet there, and had an auction there to raise money for the association. And the guys from Thames Auction Yard there, they had a t-shirt with a picture of me on the front, and they donated it to the auction, and it brought $1,000. So, you know, I may be moving on from this before long, so I thought that was pretty cool though. But tell you what, you look at Lynn's Heritage Angus. I know I've been talking about them here for over a week, but their sale is coming up here on January the 16th. That'll be this week, guys. And despite tight numbers, now is not the time to be skimping on quality. Buy a bull that is backed by a functional cow herd with proper structure, muscle, and maternal strengths. So don't forget that sale. You can get on DVAuction right now, go in there, find Lynn's Heritage Angus, and view the videos on those bulls. They got like 140 of them to sell. But that sale is going to be on January the 16th, and it is going to be on DVAuction. You can view and bid that sale. Now, one of the highest calf markets that I saw anywhere, of course they were bringing lights out everywhere, was on Superior's Bell Ringer, and man, did they have an impressive sale there. And it was just posting new highs all over the place. But some of them we had seen in auctions around, but I don't believe we've seen anything quite like this on as big a string as what it was. But the one that was interesting to me later in the week on Friday, the Wine Cup and Gamble Ranch on Montello, Nevada, they sold 350 head of weaned steer calves to only weigh 310 pounds. Long time weaned, been hay fed there for only 310 pounds. They didn't have any implants, but other than that, not a lot of bells and whistles on them. Just good quality there. But 350 head of them to weigh 310 pounds bring $5.53. I've seen some calves bring $5. I've seen some bring $5.50, but I haven't seen 350 head of them bring $5.53. Impressive there, and a good sale for those guys there at Superior. Let's talk about your board for last week. February live cattle. Monday was up $1.15. Tuesday was up 37. Wednesday down 187. Wednesday was a down day on the board for everything. Thursday back up 390, and then Friday up another $1.17. This thing is going to the moon. February live cattle futures ended the week at 198.77, trying to chase down that weighted average from last week, which is going to be closer to 202.5. How about April live cattle? They closed, ended the week at 199.47. That was up 347 for the week. Of course, I think I told you February live cattle ended up 472 for the week. Big gains, but not as big as the cash market. January feeder cattle, Monday was up 147, Tuesday was up 210, Wednesday was a down day, down 282, Thursday up 365, and Friday up another 312. And they were just trying to run down the index levels and couldn't get it done, but gained with the January contract, gained 753 for the week. That wasn't nearly enough, but January ended the week at 272.35. March ended the week at 269.40, and it was up 523. Grains were up big also. March corn ended the week at 470.5, up 19 3/4. And it seems like every time corn starts to fall, it finds support around $4.50 a bushel. Beans for March ended the week at 1025.25, up 33.5. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March ended the week at 551 3/4, up 12 3/4. So big gains on ag commodities there for the first full week of the new year. Your fat cattle trade up through Thursday, 44,500 head. So that was pretty good up through Thursday, because we usually don't see it really take off until Friday. We did have some Friday trade, but we sold more of them up through the middle of the week. And the packers were so short, they just started trying to buy cattle all through the week at higher prices, and they just gained and gained and gained, just like the feeder cattle and the calf prices did. But your live sales of fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region, negotiated cash direct from 196 to 205, mostly $2 to 205, but that was $2 to $5 higher. Your weighted average on live steers up through Thursday was 202.61. We're going to put some more in that, but we're going to be somewhere close to that here after we put the last sales of Friday on. I'll give that to you on our next visit, but that weighted average up through Thursday was up 581. Your dress sales ranged from 315 to 326, mostly 320, but that price range was $6 to $11 higher dressed. Weighted average on dress steers 320.08 up through Thursday, and that was up 770. Now on Friday we had some more trade. Iowa sold 1,000 head before 2 o'clock. I don't think there would have been much more than that later, but 23,200 for the week. Live sales on Friday 202 to 204, and dress sales at 320. Nebraska sold 4,600 on Friday, and they kept sweetening the pot there. They sold 19,000 for the week. Live prices on Friday 203, but get this, dress prices at 330. Wow, I'd heard some 325 around, but 330, unbelievable on Friday dressed in Nebraska. Kansas sold 1,700 on Friday, 8,200 for the week. Live prices on Friday in Kansas, $2 to 201. We didn't know we had the 201, but sure enough come up on Friday's sales. In Texas, they sold 1,000 head, 2,500 for the week, $2 to 201 also. And I had a buddy of mine that raises cattle down near Beaumont, Texas, and he retains ownership of those calves and sends them up to the feed yard. And he told me, he said, hey, I got $2 also. And his cattle would be carrying quite a bit of ear there. So interesting that the $2 was available even for cattle that were pretty bramery there. How about box beef cutout values? They gained big ground too. Your weighted average on last week's choice cuts, all of last week's sales together averaged 329.03. That was up 445 compared to the weighted average from the previous week. Your late Friday afternoon sales were $2.81 higher than that at 332.84. So it just kept going up. Weighted average on all of last week's select sales, 307.63. That was up 12.57. Now, I'm not sure if these wholesalers are just trying to save a little money there or what was going on, but selects gained huge, and then were $6.50 higher than the weighted average by the end of the week at 314.14. Your weighted average choice select spread only 21.40 and narrowing, and all that based on 728 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, which is pretty good movement there. So the shelves must have been pretty well depleted after the holidays. Slaughter, 589,000 estimated slaughter for last week, which is not great on a week with no holidays, but really couldn't compare it to the previous week because that was New Year's week. But it was 44,000 more than the same week a year ago when we had some pretty bad winter storms, worse than we had this past week. Talk about what else is going on. Kansas Regenerative Medical Center, they transform your health with stem cell. Now, it's not the babies and things like that. It's your own stem cells, guys. They will put them back in there where they need to advance healing. And that therapy, they focus on arthritis and orthopedic issues for your joints, your back, and your neck. And 60% of their patients are farmers and ranchers. So if you got something that's ailing you and not excited about having surgery, you might want to check them out at kansasrmc.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction ended the week at 278.70. That was up $10.62 for the week. Your real-time index with tons of volume being pumped in there and gaining 10.62 for the week. You think that's impressive? Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index was 278.55, very, very close to your RTI, but it gained $12.79 for the week. Of course, we were coming out of the end of two holiday weeks there. There wasn't a lot of volume in there, and so we pumped it full, but to gain that much ground, those are both record highs. Very impressive to see. Some big sales here on Monday. Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. Jack Harrison there. He got snowed out last Monday. They're going to have a big sale, 3,500 to 4,000. Really, really top quality. A lot of weaned calves on there, guys. Need to check them out there on DVAuction.com. Faith Livestock, Faith, South Dakota. I saw where they're going to be having a bred heifer and bred cow special. And you know how those will be top quality too. So check those sales out, guys. But your cash feeders and in the sale barns, horse stockers and feeders and calves and all classes, $5 to $12 higher. And it was pretty consistent. And I know that's a pretty wide spread, but it was consistent on all classes of feeders and calves there, guys. They all sold better. But I'm going to give you several individual quotes from all around that were impressive, and these would be the best of all last week, and it just kept getting progressively higher until the end of the week. I'd be surprised if it can hold higher markets again here to start the week on Monday, but it could be a little bit higher and still be steady with the end of last week. But check out Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska. DVAuction broadcaster had 113 steers, weighed 728. And bring 320. How about Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota, 70 head of steers, weight 755 at 305. I thought that was pretty impressive. How about Dunlap Livestock Auction in Dunlap, Iowa? They sell 67 steers, weight 847 at 287. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Crawford, Nebraska, Crawford Livestock Market there. Rich and Alicia Robertson got a hell of a sale going there and had really nice calves on Friday. They sell 72 steers, weigh 600 pounds smooth at $360. That may be one of the highest prices that I've heard so far in this rally. But that's your feeder flash for Monday.